all my life, I've been looking to find a version of success that also feels soft. Part of my personality is this type A personality. I'm ambitious. I want to achieve big things. I want to contribute my genius and talents to a future world that's better than this one. Yeah, I want to contribute myself to the reweaving of culture and society. And I want to enjoy this precious human life that I've got for this very brief amount of time. And I want to have space in my diary and energy. And I want to have precious moments with the people I love and a depth of communication and meaning in my life. Both of those things are really important to me. And I don't want to have to sacrifice one at the altar of the other. And so I think in our culture, we're given this very atypical version of success, which is around striving and hustling and grinding to achieve a version of success that's externally validated. And I think a lot of us are burning out and are seeing through that. I think in our culture, we were given this very masculine yang version of success, of hustling and grinding and overstretching ourselves in order to achieve a success that's externally validated. And I think a lot of us, especially women, are seeing through it. The pandemic, the great resignation, quiet quitting, we're beginning to see that that's not the source of meaning and everything it was laid out to be for us. And we're wanting this more softer life. And yet that's a crying shame as well. If women feel like they have to choose between ambition and really contributing their gifts or growing their impact in order to live a softer life, I think that's a travesty. And in a way, I think that's the system winning, because I do think it's going to be women that do reimagine the world, that do renew our culture and move us into a more humane and sane future. But if women are having to quietly quit, if women are having to give up on their ambitions in order to do it, or they're reassigning their ambitions from having a bigger, wider impact in the world to having time and space and a softness in their personal life, well, what a loss for the world, what a loss for the world. And so I want both of those things. I want women to be able to enjoy a deeply meaningful, spacious, soft feeling life. And I want them to be contributing their gifts and growing their impact and sharing their genius with the world. It is possible to do both. In order to do that, that requires us to reweave in our own nervous systems, our own bodies, in our families and social groups, and in our communities and wider culture. We need to reweave pathways of success. I used to work as a social worker, community worker. And when you're working with people with very complex lives, a lot of the outcomes that you're working with them on are what would be termed soft outcomes, right? And so I always think about this from my past career. You've got hard outcomes, which is like, what amount of money did you save the NHS? How many less people went to prison? What was the reoffending rate? These kind of hard-edged numbers. And then there were the soft outcomes, like a woman who'd suffered domestic violence feeling confident enough to walk home alone at night, yeah? Or like a group of teenage boys learning to cook for themselves, or increased connection between the generations in a community, yeah? These are all soft outcomes. But really, for me, that's what makes life worth living. That is the soft outcomes, Like the soft outcomes that you can't measure are what makes life rich, what makes life meaningful, what makes life beautiful. And I think we still live in a society where we're too driven by this idea of hard outcomes. So for me, success and the softer life is, what are those soft outcomes that you want in your life? What do you want your life to look and feel like on a day-to-day that maybe wouldn't be quantifiable, wouldn't be tangibly measurable, but would be deeply tangibly felt? So when I think about success and the soft life, what I'm thinking about is those soft outcomes that I used to work with. We have this false dichotomy, and this is like a violence against femininity, I think, which is this separation of soft and success. Yeah. So you can be successful, but you can't be successful and also be soft. This is why women are so frazzled when they get into leadership, because they often have to leave their softness, their vulnerability, their femininity at the door and step into a masculine way of doing things. And even when we exit corporate or other industries where that's required of us, and we take up our own thing, or we step into our artistry, or we step into leading our own businesses, we've still got this model in our heads. We've still internalized this model. And so I think there's something about that success and soft aren't separate, actually, that soft outcomes actually are what make leaders great. A leader that's in touch with their feelings, that's in touch with their empathy, that's in touch with their love and compassion, that is a very effective leader in the world. And women excel at this. This is the thing that we've been shamed for, that is actually our power in the world. And so I think there's something for me as well around success and the soft life, which is it's not an either or, that from softness comes power. Yeah. From softness comes success. So really part of my work is also trying to re-own this deep feminine power of softness and nourishment. Softness is always the key to unlocking the next level of a woman's success. 100% of the time. A woman will come to me in a one-on-one session and she'll walk in feeling like crap, beating herself up. She'll be having all these ideas that she should be further than she is, or she shouldn't be feeling this, or she shouldn't, And when we meet that with softness, with kindness, with love, the shame, the stigma, the hardness with which she's trying to drive herself forward melts. And then what emerges is her next step that feels in alignment, that feels good, that feels possible to take, that feels even maybe exciting or pleasurable to take. And then she takes it, okay? I think if self-hatred worked, we would all be size 6 millionaires, yeah? Because women are taught to hate themselves. And we've been hating on ourselves and being harsh with ourselves and driving ourselves for as long as we've been alive. And it doesn't lead us to where we want to go. And when it does lead us towards success, the version of success that it creates is not enjoyable, it's not pleasurable, it's not sustainable, because it's not grounded in this softness, in this love, in this delight in who you are, and this kindness towards yourself, So I'll just say 100% of the time, softness leads a woman to her next version of success. Yeah. And rather than this driving force, it's like the unfurling of her potential. It's the unfurling of her next step. It's the unfurling of her expansion. Yeah. And we just root that in, like softness, kindness, a gentleness is the thing that is potent and powerful and life-giving to a woman's vision. In my own life, like I need bags of kindness, I need bags of softness, And that's what I turn to my mentors for, or my Buddhist practice, my friends. It's like I'm held in a container of kindness and softness. And that's not to say at times that's not pokey. It's not to say that at times I'm not getting really strong feedback about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. But it's not harsh, It's not driven from that same sense of hatred or not good enoughness. So that's not to say that a soft life is one without challenge, or that frisson with life where we're expanding into our next level, or that edge of growth. But if we're going to do that, we resource that with kindness, with softness, with love, Life has enough challenges without us having to add to those through a harshness and a self-hatred towards ourselves.